Anyway, look, let's talk hate monsters. I could be describing anyone, really, couldn't I? But I'm not. I'm describing a specific advert. Listen and watch.
You might know this thing here. It's the hate monster. When you're feeling insecure, when you feel angry, he'll be there, feeding off the emotions. Getting bigger and bigger, till he's weighing you down. He'll make you want to have a go at somebody. A neighbour, somebody on the street, on a night out, security guy on the door, somebody in the chippy, your taxi driver. He'll make you want to vent your anger, just 'cause folk look or act different for you. The hate monster wants you to feel like you need to show you're better than them. Then, before you know it, you've committed a hate crime. Doesn't make you feel better though, does it? Maybe for a minute, but then you just feel worse, don't you? 'Cause the hate just hangs about like a bad smell. But it doesn't need to be like this. You're better than that, and you know it. You've got all this energy, so do something positive with it. The hate monster doesn't like that. In fact, he hates it. Go on. Be good to yourself. Don't feed the hate monster.
Obviously, I'm desperately trying my best now not to do my fantastic accent impression. I don't think you can do that in this day and age. If I did, I'd probably find myself in trouble because these are new laws which commence. They take effect from the 1st of April in Scotland. It's the hate crime law, to be precise. And there's a lot of criticism. I mean, that advert on its own, by the way, says Scotland, please Scotland. They wrote on their website that it was men aged 18 to 30 from socially excluded communities with ideas about white male entitlement that are particularly likely to be perpetrators of hate crime. I can tell you now, many people have reacted in not a pleasant way to that. But these new hate crime laws, so many people now are saying that it's all gone too far. The police have said that they're going to respond. They're going to look at every single one of these that's reported, which has created a backlash in itself because the police, for low-level crimes, are not really doing as much as they ought to be, perhaps, in Scotland. But where are you on all of this, Daniel?
Well, the biggest hate crimes at the moment, of course, the most obvious ones, are the outbreak of anti-Semitism we're seeing in the country. And that isn't mentioned at all, because the left have decided that they want to focus the whole hate crime agenda on the white working classes and on their views. And the police Scotland are quite explicit about that. If you're poor, if you're white, if you're male, they're coming for you for a hate crime. And all it means very often is you're expressing views that are quite normal in your community and that many people would share. I'm deeply worried about the whole notion of hate crime. It's a new idea. It obviously involves censorship. And there are occasions, I grant, when censorship might be appropriate. In very extreme cases, censorship might be appropriate. But there's a very delicate balance to get right there. And it's been pushed all the wrong way. And people are now being shut up and visited by the police and threatened by the police because of things that they've said, and who knows, next it'll be things that you've thought or written down and so on, and private communications in families, they'll be coming for those as well. And this is a very, very clear left-wing agenda to make war on ordinary people. That's what they're trying to do. And no mention, of course, of hate crime from the left, the anti-Semitism we're seeing, any of that sort. That's all being wiped out of it. The threat they're trying to say is always going to come from the right, and by the right they mean the working class, the male, the whites.
Kevin?
I mean, this story is about something that's been done in Scotland. I don't think that the ad itself is a particularly effective piece of communication. The ad was it was a 6-week online ad that ran in spring 2023. And is not as such linked to the legislation. I don't think it's very effective. I think a lot of the people who would be committing hate crimes are not going to look at that ad and go, oh, I'm going to change and turn into a nicer person. So I don't think it's effective. And then, Daniel's characterising there, he's talking about the left this, the left that. I mean, I just don't agree with a lot of that. There's a lot of people on the left the Labour Party were deeply concerned about increases in anti-Semitism, have been very on the record about it. So to carry, I don't know who Daniel thinks has got a war on the white working class.
Oh,
but let me hang on, Daniel, just to say it, and then I'll shut up. I don't know who you think's got a war on the white working class, but I can tell you, as someone who came from that background, it's not the Labour Party. So I don't know who has.
Well, it's the leadership of the SNP, isn't it, who are doing this? They just said yourself, it's in Scotland, it's the Scottish Government, it's led by the SNP. I made no reference to the Labour Party.
Yeah, but I think you said the left.
The left. These people are extreme leftists. The SNP government in SNP Green Coalition in Scotland is an example of an extreme left-wing government. Even in Wales, Mark Drakeford, a recognised Corbynista, has been running a government for some years, he's standing down now, running a government for some years, which is well to the left of where Keir Starmer would be, which is why he's not actually welcome in Keir Starmer's councils and leadership office.
I find this, what's going on in Scotland, these new laws, particularly concerning because, for me, nobody really has got a right not to be offended. I mean, I wouldn't deliberately go out and try and upset someone or hurt somebody or whatever, but life, that is life. You are allowed to dislike somebody. You are allowed to dislike something. I mean, heaven forbid if that's your gravity, you're even allowed to hate something. It's not a criminal offence. And this whole notion that actually if you or if someone perceives that you have acted in a way that's hurtful or whatever, hateful, you could then be criminalised. They've popped up all of these kind of reporting places now. So one of them that's been in the news a lot is a sex shop where people can go in. You can anonymously log this hate crime now. This can all be logged and all the rest of it. It could just be someone with a grievance against you. Some of this stuff, by the way, you could even be saying in your own home. Yeah,
but I mean, isn't it always the case that people with grievances against you could always try and twist the law and abuse it to try and get at a person? But I mean, isn't the background to a lot of the legislation around hate crimes about just trying to make people feel safer? Isn't that like a good thing to seek, you know, to try and minimise violence against women, racism, you know, homophobic crime? Isn't that a good thing?
Of course, and I want people, like I particularly don't like awful bullying. I don't like nasty bullying. Absolutely. And I like, you know, I've got a little boy and I see the way children interact with each other and I see if a child is being unkind to each other. I don't like any of that. But at the same time, life isn't always a bed of roses.
I know.
People are allowed to have negative feelings towards things and others or whatever without necessarily ending up with a criminal record because of it.